the 20th. I've been trying to do this since this morning, and hopefully YouTube is going to work now. My video is not right; it's got me all flustered. So hopefully I can get this right. Touch that, get that way. So look, guys, hope all doing extremely well. As I say, January the 20th on a Tuesday. 11-12 days left of the transfer window. Look, there are so many things to be said. Again, every day there's so many things to be speaking about, and but again, it all just the same sort of stuff. But I think it's worth going back over this stuff. And look, David Ornstein has dropped some stuff this morning as well, so it's all worth talking about that good stuff as well. So look, I do hope that we're all doing extremely well. This morning, first thing I'll always say is get into this amazing community, get into this amazing platform. This community is the best. We may not be the biggest, we're certainly not the smallest, but in my humble opinion, I think that we are the best. So look, guys, get in with your chats. First thing I say is, look, be respectful to yourselves, be respectful to the community, be respectful to the moderators, be respectful to me. Otherwise, the ban hammer comes out. It's not something that we do like to do, but we absolutely will dish out the ban hammer. We don't mind banter. Banter is welcome on here. Second thing to say is I'm not a dictator of this chat. I really do read out your chats. This is why these shows take so long. So if you think you put in a chat and I don't read them out, I really, really do. Look, we don't always have to agree on every single thing. Now, that's not how life works. I do respect your view, and if I do come back on a view, it's not because I'm disrespecting a view. Sometimes we may not agree. If it's a disrespectful view, then I will come back on that. But in general, it's all about respect. So look, let me know in the chat. Nicaroots says, good afternoon, you handsome devil. Nicaroots, you legend, my friend, and I hope you are doing extremely, extremely well. So look, before we start, update, guys, on the football shirts. I'm still waiting to receive the shirts. As soon as I get them, I will be sending them out. So yeah, as I said, get to 30k and I'll be dishing out some shirts. Those shirts are still in transit. The moment I get them, I promise you, I will send them out. Sky says, only got 5 minutes left of a break. Apologies for that. So look, the shirts are on their way. I will be giving out some more shirts. So when if we get to 40k, I'll be giving away some more shirts as well. So every 10k, I'll be giving away some football shirts. So yeah, guys, look, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Get into the channel, get into this community, and we are different. We are different from the rest. And we are the best. So what are we talking about today? Now, my stance on this. I don't like, this is why I don't do the transfer shows. Maybe I should do maybe doing more on that, clicking every day about how we're going to be signing an X, Y, and Z person. I brought Neves because that was what came out, but very, very conscious, very, very, very conscious. I try not to do things for clicks. Now, I should do really. I could be saying that we're going to sign X, Y, and Z every single day. I know to the contrary about some of these things. To prefix this my whole ethos on the window is this. Unpopular opinion, maybe I agree. United need mid. Neves, I don't want him, don't rate him. Too. And look, that is not a problem. I don't think that's an issue at all. That one of the questions that I posed, you can talk about rumours, it's not lies, it's content. But the thing is with me is I will talk about rumours to a point, but I then have to be like, I'm going to keep talking about the same things, right? And I'm not that sort of person. This is not that sort of channel, but where I want to spam you guys for clicks. There are certain things that I knew, certain things that I got told. Semenyo, for example, absolutely was never coming. Now, do I want a Neves? Now, look, one of my opinions on it, do I want him as a body? Yes. But I think one of the things to say on this is that, I want players that are going to drive the conversation. Shout out for Xavier, says William. One of the things for me, and this is where I'm at on the transfer window, is that do we need signings? Yes. And one of the questions that I've got to ask is that any of these signings, do they move the conversation forward? Do they move the transfer window forward? Do they impact this team? Now there are William says, bro, you're so cool. Thank you, my friend. I hope you're doing it extremely well. One thing about the channel is I do read the chat. Sky says, been up since 4 a.m, 2 hours sleep, long day at work. Look, go and have a fantastic day, Sky. Go and you don't need to be here, Sky. You are fantastic, but look, you go and do your thing. Neves, for me, as we're on the subject of him, I think it would be such an easy day to do. Now, as a squad player, I did not want the Gallagher. So glad he never rated him. Pure Maze, how does it feel to run Manchester again? I mean, look, it feels good for a week, doesn't it? It feels good for this week. It feels good for the rest of the season, right? But look, if City go on to win the league, but look, for this week, it's really, really good. So Neves, where are we with that? And then I'll give you my views and opinions on that, and you give me your views and opinions as well. Doesn't mean that my opinion is the be all and the end all. Sorry for look. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I will read through the chat. I know exactly what you mean, my friend. No problem at all, buddy. So Neves, yesterday, a load of reports came through. Neves, look, do I think that we've put in a bid for him? I would lean towards yes. I do get stuff, and I do get told stuff. This transfer mystery signing, I'm being told to watch out for names. They don't necessarily know. They know bits and pieces about names that are going through a list, but concrete wise, there are only certain people that get that from the club. So do I think that we have realistically put in a bid for somebody who's 28 years old, Portuguese, played in the Premier League, experience and cheap? Yes, I do. Do I think he's going to come? Look, the rhetoric today from Ornstein, and this is coming up from Ornstein now, like, what you've got to understand is David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano get things from the club. Now, I'm not saying that they necessarily get paid from the club. I'm not accusing them of that, and their integrity is always going to be intact. But they do get stuff from the club. They do get things. They do get things from the club. Now, David Ornstein, Fabrizio, JB, I have reported this. I've been on this because this is something I've been told, and go back and watch videos. I've been on this, talking about this for weeks and weeks and weeks, because I got told this, that United don't plan to make any signings in this window, or if they do, it will be a really loan to cheap deal. Neves, I agree with Nikarutsu. 20 million bid is reasonable. And also, I do agree that I think he probably is going to want over 300k. There are many factors to consider here. But look, as a body for that sort of price, I would take him as a squad player. And look, I think we need squad players. Now, I think we need a good squad player. I think we need a midfielder in this window, because we are one injury away from not having a midfield. So, and I will come on to that. Lion Tao says that was a fluke win. Lion Tao, mate, talking out your arse. You didn't see the game. That wasn't a fluke win. Look, it's a derby. Lion Tao, when you're just being bitter, right? When we're talking about fluke games are basically, let's just say City were peppering a goal and we managed to score in the 97th minute with a header. The game wasn't a fluke, mate. You can moan, bitch, whinge, complain, City were beaten. Whether or not in the context of the Premier League they're better than us, that's fine. But it wasn't a fluke, Lion. It wasn't a fluke. We've beaten City quite a lot of times. I think Pep's head-to-head isn't great. We know how to beat them. So, my friend, look, if you're bitter, that's up to you. Bitterness, that is on you, my friend. But look, that was no fluke win. If you watch the game again, go back and I suggest you watch that game. That's just your bitterness. Just your bitterness. For 50 to 80k, I would say yes, but don't rate him as a player in the squad. 300k a week, we can stay in Saudi. Dino's in the house, possibly yes, but I think 340k wage has been the stumbling block. I hate the Glazers and the players, but no Line City just were outplayed. United deserved you, just bitter. You could have been 6 to 8-0 if it weren't for the keeper. Pay me 340. Winning 2-0 with 3 goals chopped off was hard. Exactly. Look, and we've got some bitter people. Look, look, it doesn't matter about banter, but coming onto the channel and then basically trying to make out that we were lucky. Look, my friend, that's on you. So Neves. So look, let's talk about the player. 28. Now he's on 390k in the Saudi League. 6 months left on his deal. It's very much, very much a case of Neves knows, he's going to be a free agent. Is somebody going to pay him close to 250 to 300k on a free? Possibly. I think you guys have hit the nail on the head there. I think potentially the stumbling block here is the wages. You could argue for a player like that, 300k a week, you're getting him for a low price. That would be perfectly fine. However, the caveat to that for me would be if you're looking at a Guehi for an example, the reason why he can command that wage is because he's been in the Premier League and he is a fantastic player. Neves has been outside of the Premier League for a couple of years, and I do agree the pace is going to be off. However, the double caveat to that for me, the pivot of the caveat for that for me is we need bodies. We need players. And 20 million on 250k a week for a Premier League player, for an ex-Premier League player that's not played in the league for quite some time, is a gamble. And look, when you factor this all in, I do think that we've put in a bid. I think the stumbling block probably is the wages. I think we've probably gone in for a loan to buy. And I think that Neves is probably looking for a big wage. This is going to be his last contract, pretty much 28. Probably looking to come back into European. And he's going to want a big contract. I don't blame the player for running down his contract. Sancho did the same thing. These players do the exact same thing. So I don't blame him. But I just think if we can't do this deal at the right price, but then we do need a midfield player. So I think you guys in the chat are right. I do think we've put a bid in for him. But I think it's such a difficult deal, and I think it's a difficult sell to do. Let me get through the chat so we can talk about what Ornstein said as well. You would be better the Delo and Luke Shaw. Right, I'm off before I get sacked. See you later, Sky. It's planned to release Casemiro to sign Neves to meet the wage demands. We can come on about Casemiro as well. We've already spoken about the Casemiro thing, but we will talk about that again. If you say it's too low, I'll give 1 mil price goes up if you want. Aaron says no tax in Saudi, so beyond half the wage. Is that exactly, Aaron? Exactly. But I hate him. I'll do the same. If don't buy at least one player, it's criminal. Every position can be improved. Exactly. Sally says wherever he goes, he has to expect to take a pay cut. There's a reason Saudi's different, and he's not world class to demand that in Europe. So look, Scott is in house, absolutely legend. Now I get, look what we are going to get today as well, and we can go through it as well. So let's go through the names again, and then I'll go through what Ornstein, what I've been told, what everyone else has been saying as well. Aidan Hackney. I think we spoke about that on here as well. Aidan Hackney. Look, the link to Carrick, and again, I think it's lazy. I think it's very, very lazy. I think Aidan Hackney I like the player, yes, but if you logically follow this, and look, I would love to make that deal happen. I think it would be a good signing, but I just think this is now where we're seeing and where we are getting a lot of rhetoric and spin, right? Aidan Hackney, Neves, all sorts of stuff. Now, like Aidan Hackney, people are going with that today. I am not prescribing to that now. After today's show, I'm going to find it very, very difficult to talk about the transfer window. I'm not going to get involved until there is something concrete to say, or until I'm told something on it. Now, Aidan Hackney, look, we've been looking at him. I think Crystal Palace were looking at him, or Premier League were looking at bringing him in, and they didn't do it. Borough have gone to one upwards of £30 million. Now, I don't know if United can do some sort of cheap deal. Now, look, what I've been told, and I'm going to keep reiterating the stance of what I've been told, is that United don't plan to do any deal. The only thing they plan to do is if it's a cheap loan deal or a cheap option to buy, like a really, really cheap deal. Now, Aidan Hackney, in some respects, would represent that. Kevin says Bruno for player manager. Like Kevin, I don't. Maybe not for us. I don't think that. Player managers can really do it now. If anyone could do it, I've no doubt Fernandes could probably do it for a bit, but the player manager doesn't exist anymore. So I don't think that is an option. But I've got no doubt that Bruno Fernandes will be playing probably late into his 30s. I says, but you don't want to disrespect Saudi. They're playing in Fire, so the hot, ambitious club, but they're getting stronger. Chelsea just signed. Don't know who that is. It says Aaron Sally. Chelsea is a joke, but at least ambitious, meaning that they buy 1 billion people. It makes no sense to buy in the January window unless we're buying our primary target, says Kevin. Kevin, I disagree. Kevin, mate, I disagree. Raya says City. Who was the last play manager? Fucking hell. Who was the last player manager? I remember Hullet did it. I think was Giggsy a player coach, or did he stop? I remember Kenny Dalglish, Hullet did it, Hoddle did it. I thought Giggsy was a, but Giggsy might have retired first. I can't remember. I don't know. I really don't know who the last player coach was. I can't think, mate. Can't think. I feel I have an agenda. I just want United to do well. I don't like Bruno. He couldn't pass. Would be playing for Preston for me. So buy for the sake of buying. I will come on to it, Kevin. Look, Kevin, mate. Look, Kevin. It's just Glazer thinking, mate. No, you don't buy for the sake of buying. That's not what I'm saying here. We do need a body. We do need another midfielder. I'm not just talking about going out there and wasting money, but telling me there's no value in the market, and it's very, very Glazer thinking. We shouldn't get our the midfielders, right? We haven't bought a midfielder, Kevin. You tell me, Kevin. When have we bought a midfielder to replace a Carrick? When have we bought a midfielder to replace a Keane? We have not bought a centre midfielder, a proper centre midfielder, to properly replace those players in years. We should have bought. We're not buying for the sake of buying. We need a defensive centre midfielder. We need a proper midfield target. And when people say to me, Kevin, and people say to me about, and this is just my view, Kevin, I know you've got a completely different viewpoint to me. When we're talking about we've got to wait till the summer, we can't get a manager. We've got to wait until the summer. We can't get our top players until the summer. Why can't we? It's just Glazer talk, Kevin. It's just the Glazer. It's Stockholm syndrome, right? You are leaning in to what the club is saying. You're leaning in to what the Glazers are saying. You're buying into the rhetoric. Why can't we go and get a manager now? If we want an Emery, why don't we go and get him? If we want an Enrique, never mind where we are. We're supposed to be the second biggest club in the world by size and by the amount of money that we earn. Why are we buying into? Oh, we can't get these players now because they're just not there. I know Chelsea can. Chelsea bought Enzo for what, 90 million. You can do deals. There are deals to be done, Kevin, but the difference is that they're expensive. You have to be an ambitious club. There is nothing wrong in going to get a primary target. Go get a Stiller now. Why can't you go get a Stiller? Why? Why they're not available now? They are available. Everybody has a price. If you walked into Stuttgart and said, here's 75, here's 80, they would take it. The reason why, Kevin, is because many fans, and this is your view, we've got to wait until the summer. We've got to wait till the summer. We can't possibly be an ambitious club and go and buy these players now, because one of the reasons, Kevin, one of the reasons why INEOS, the Glazers, want to tell you that there's no value in the market, why we should wait for players, why this rhetoric is out there to wait for players, is because they've got no fucking money. It's because they've got no money. That is primarily the reason, is they've got no ambition, they've got no money to do it, so they can't do it. And then they spew out a rhetoric that, we can't go and get a coach. We can't go and get players. Why can't you do it? Chelsea went and spent in a window £500 million. Was it the season before last? So, Kevin, it's bullshit, mate. It's absolute. I don't buy it, Kevin. I do not buy it at all. I don't buy it. We can't do transfers in this window. Yes, you can. Everybody has a price. Well, I do agree with you. We shouldn't just buy players for the sake of it. I'm not saying we've been stung there before with a Sabitzer, a Garlo, Falcao, those sorts of players. I do agree with that. We shouldn't just be buying for the sake of buying. But Kevin, we need players. There are players out there to go and get that will be the same or better than what we've got. So, Kevin, I absolutely do not buy this. We've got to wait, because that's just Glazer thinking. That's just Glazer talking there. We need sign to reach the top four. I do agree, Kevin. I disagree. Even a squad player would help an ambitious team. I think gigs stopped. You guys are going to be talking about this match for a long time because you ain't winning anything else. Well done. As United fans, I support every player. We should all just, Sky says, "Oh, F the jobber for a minute." And we should talk about this match because what happened? We won and you lost. Dino, we had to let that out before I go back to the shift. Ryan says, Carrick going to win 3 games and then suck us for the rest of the season like every other manager and then get sacked. Look, who knows? Who knows? That could happen. Man United still haven't replaced Carrick and his coach exactly. Any coach would be happy with any mid. That's how poor the midfield is. Neither. Get you doing that. No real club does. We just wrote off the season again. Nobody talks about how the Glazers write signings off. The so-called great Haaland couldn't even score. Joel says Stiller would fail a fitness test right now. He's still injured, says Joel. Joel, look, mate. I'm not actually I'm not actually saying to go get a Stiller. And I know, Joel, you're very factual, but I'm not talking about Stiller, mate. That's just an example. Sadly, we're a joke. Ryan says the United fans are ready to. You've done it, mate. You've done it. You've done it. There's banter, and then there is things like that. So you've gone, mate. You've gone. There's banter, and then there's stuff like that. If Glazers had a brain, we would get more players. If we were in Champions League, that would Sporting Lisbon striker went to Arsenal would be United now if they've qualified for the Champions League. It says I really doubt he's going to go to Madrid. City will always offer him more money. Joe says Chelsea spends, and they are slamming into a wall. Liverpool spends 500 this window and they're rubbish. City spends even more and they're also not tearing it up. And Joe, look, mate, you make a good point, Joe. I just think my view on this is that you're right, Joe. I think you make a very, very good point. But the problem is, I'm not talking about spending. Look, Liverpool have spent money, but they already pretty much had the squad. City have spent money; they pretty much have a squad. Now Chelsea, I think Chelsea have bought wrong. We need to spend that sort of money, Joel, in my opinion, to catch up. I'm not talking about spending, Joel. It's not as look. We're the team that finished 15th last season. Sir Jackie's in the house. We are the team that finished 15th last season. We need to spend that sort of money to catch up. Yes, City. This is not a very good league this season, in my view. It's a very, very competitive league this season. But you watch Liverpool next season, when those players find their feet, Liverpool are going to be, this money that they've spent now and invested is going to come, we don't spend this money. We've still got, there is talk of Casemiro extending his contract. Now, look, there are caveats to this whereby Casemiro does have to hit a 35 game season, which I don't think he's going to hit. But additionally to that, Joel, they are talking about extending his contract on some new terms. There is talk of giving Harry Maguire a new contract. And whilst I do agree that we need to keep some of these experienced players around, now we're talking about giving contracts to Maguire, to Casemiro. Now Luke Shaw is still here. We're still talking about giving contracts and that sort of stuff to older players. When City are buying Aguahi, City are buying a Semenyo, just to add to that squad. And whilst I do agree that spending is not always the best, we need to spend to buy a squad. And I just do not prescribe to this squad is good because we've won a single game. And I'm not suggesting that, Joel, that is what you're saying. But there is a rhetoric right now that seems to be we don't need players because we won a game. We can't go and get a manager now. We can't go and get these players now. I just don't buy into it. I really, really don't. It's great to finally be here, says Henderson. Absolute legend. Why don't you apply for the job? I work highly. United Devil Channel better than Ollie and Carrick. Let's not argue, mods. Yeah, you guys. I misreading. Don't mind me. I thought you mods were arguing. Yeah, please be respectful to the channel, guys. His blocked me, the guy talking, so I wasn't sure. I thought mods were arguing. I've not blocked anybody, mate. Are we going for that Barcelona guy? Look, before I get on to the Ornstein thing, I think it's important. Look, apparently, what's out there today as well is, Rashford. So Barcelona, right? So Barcelona, these are reports that are out there, only want to pay £18 million for Marcus Rashford. They don't want to pay anything more than that. They also want to do it in 3 installments. Barcelona can piss off. What a cheap ass club. I mean, look, long gone are the Barcelona days of them, being. And I know they've got a cost cut, but where's the respect? They want a player like that, and whatever we think about him, I think the deal's on the table for 25 million quid, I think. But they don't want to pay that for him. They want to pay 18 million over three seasons. Piss off. I mean, look, I would rather have Rashford back sitting on a bench for that sort of money rather than give him to Barcelona. And Barcelona, immediately Barcelona will stick a 100 million quid clause on him. So Barcelona, they can piss off. Are we going to go for that Barcelona guy? I think PSG are, aren't they? We're not going to go for him in this window. It's impossible to do. It's impossible to do. It's been possible to do. Talk of the devil. Bobby's in the house. Hope you're doing extremely well. My bad. I mean, not you, but yeah. No worries, dude. Scott says, surprised me not getting linked to De Jong. Yo says, I want to see smart buys, not just buy a player, have a player. Neves would he even start? The money would he be on? Barcelona will pay what we want them to pay. And again, look, I think there is I do agree in some respects with this whole, you can't just buy any player. But I'm not buying that on the basis that we're not going to do any business in this window. I got told this in October that United don't plan to do any business, not because there's not people there to buy. And this is my whole point to this, is they're not doing it because there's no money. They're not doing it because there's no value in the market. I would go and get a good squad player. I'd go to Wolves and go get a Gomez. Look, a Gomez for me may not be top of the tree, but I would go and get him. I think he would be better in this side. I don't see why you can't go and get him. Now, I do agree, Joe. Look, I don't just want anybody, but we need bodies. I think we need one more. Imagine if Kobe Mainoo gets injured. Imagine if Ugarte gets injured. Casemiro is 34 years old. We are one injury away. And whilst I do agree that we shouldn't just buy players, there are decent squad players. We need squad players as well. I don't see why we don't go and try and get a decent squad player now. So I do. Again, I don't prescribe to the rhetoric that there's nobody out there. There are players out there. We just can't do the deal because we're just not good enough to do the deals. So what we're going through here. Let's have a look. Green and Gold says hi. Hello, Green and Gold. Hope you're doing extremely well. Agree with me. Squad players make sense. Turn off your Dino. So look. We've been linked to all these players. One of the things I want to say, I actually just got rejected to take Ugarte on loan. And this is what I mean by there is spin and lies, because we've got one person saying that we're looking to do a mystery loan deal. There are outlets saying yesterday we're bombarding with the Neves deal. United are purposefully putting all this out. I have been on this train for quite some time. I still think that United will try to make a cheap loan deal happen. I've been on about this for quite some time. If Ugarte does go, they will have to bring somebody in. And Scott, as we spoke about, is it spin? And that's why we did the show. This is why sometimes we do these shows, is because we want to dispel his name. I'll say his name. So Jacobs has been talking about the mystery unknown play. It's the biggest rubbish I've heard in a long time. And and this is what I mean. Joel, you're 100% right. This mystery player. And one of the things that Ben said was, it may happen, it may not happen. And this is exactly what we say on this channel. And again, this is why the thumbnails that we do and the shows that we do, we keep saying that this window is spin. Scott says it's spin. I've said it's spin. Many of us on here have said it's spin. This window is a window. This is a Glazer window. This is a perfect INEOS and the Glazer window. You feed out Neves, is that they've put it out a bit. You feed to somebody else like Ben Jacobs. You feed it out to him that we might be signing somebody, and he's even said, and Ben has got the perfect thing here. The perfect thing here. He said that United are looking to do a mystery deal, right? He's not going to reveal it because it may or may not happen. I mean, Ben, mate, I absolutely respect the guy, right? But I mean, you are literally covering every angle here. There is a mystery player that you can't reveal. Like I could do that. Like I do talk to somebody that tells me stuff. I come on and I tell you word for word that I get told. I tell you. Joel, mate, I didn't want to say it, Joel, but you're right. Look, it is one of those things whereby I feel like this window is so quiet, and United are doing it on purpose. We absolutely said this at the beginning of the window. What we are going to get is spin. We're going to get spin, 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 spin. And this is, we've got 12 days, 11 days left of this window, and this club are loving it. They spun this fan base around with an interim manager, right? How they could have just announced it. But they took their sweet time. So this is the whole point of this show. And again, like I did with the Semenyo stuff, after this show, I'm not getting into this debate on who are we going to sign. I was told in October we're going to there are no planning sign, because this is still a Glazer owned club. There is no value in the market. This is what we get told for such a long time. So I'm going to say to you this: beware of reports out there, and to kind of back all this up. And Bobby says, I'm so confused with all the transfer stuff. And you're right, Bobby. This is what the Glazers want to happen. This is what they do. And Joel says, the only player to keep your eyes on is Diamonde. United will bid as well, but we are passive until someone else goes for the player. And Joel, look, I've heard that as well, but the price for him is 100 million. I believe between 80 and like 100 million. I mean, Joel, the question is, as much as he is a good young player, would you be happy with that? Would you be content with that? The problem for me now is I don't know where we're going to go. So if, for example, another coach comes in and is happy with these centre midfielders and says, look, I want another forward player, this is perfect. This is perfect for the Glazers, and this is perfect for an INEOS. Ibrahim says, greedy rats don't care about the performances because the profits will always roll in. Kieran says, thoughts on ex-players criticising the current ones, he's not worth 100. Agree, Joel. I completely agree. That's what I've heard the transfer fee to be. Kieran, I'll give my brief opinion on it because I've made my feelings clear on the subject now for quite some time. Ex-players can have their opinions. Champagne says, how does the derby make you feel? Says Champagne. Look, the derby itself makes me feel happy. I'm not going to lie. It doesn't mean to say that I back these players. Doesn't mean to say I like these players. I saw it on a flight, and the guy next to me also was a United fan. The mystery midfielders have been revealed. It's Ruben, Loftus-Cheek, and N. Diddy. 20th century football. I hate to break it to you, my friend. I've already done that. I've already done it. I've already done it. If those are the mystery players, I've already done that, mate. There are videos that I've done already. I told this channel to watch out for those players, mate. I've already done it. The video is out there. If that happens, if Loftus-Cheek happens or an Ndidi happens, I've already done a video on it. I've already said it, my friend. Look, I get stuff in. I tell you guys stuff, what I hear, and then I react to the stuff. If Loftus-Cheek is the rumour and that becomes true, with Xerxes going to Milan as well, I've already said this story because I've been told some stuff. But look, that's up to you guys. It was insane again. But look, to go back to what Kieran said. Let me go back on that, Kieran. I've given you my opinion on it. There is a video that I did about the Nicky Butt and the Paul Scholes thing. Ultimately, at the end of the day, in my view, there are two sorts of comments and there are two sorts of things. Number one, these players, when they moan and whinge and complain about ex-players, going, oh, we find it so hard, they criticise the players. Now, playing for this club, as I've said before, I can't stand some of these players, the fact that they can't handle criticism. That does get to a point where it does get beyond a joke. However, when you play for this club, if you can't handle the pressure or the criticism because it's too difficult, you shouldn't be a player. Now, there is another type of that whereby, Nicky Butt and Paul Scholes, did they say anything wrong? Not really. In the context of what they said, did they say anything that was, wrong? No. What they said was very, very unprofessional. I profoundly do not agree with it. I profoundly do not agree. That is not a criticism, a set of comments that can be constructive. When you're sat there and you're criticising that sort of player, and the comment I don't think was great. Look, you can have your opinions on it. I don't think that level of benign, childish, and look, you can have your thoughts and feelings on it. Nicky Butt said something, caught out. People can't stand it. I'm not a fan of it. It is what it is. I think ex-players, I want to see them talking to these players. I don't want to see these ex-players sat there and just criticising these players without any context behind it. Go and speak to these players. Like, you guys know what it's like to play for this club. This is a different era, a different time. Go and speak to these players. Go and talk to these players. Reach out to these players. Critique is fine. If a player doesn't play well in a particular game, there is nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong in critiquing a player. But right now, I think there is a line, and I don't think that players, ex-players, I think there's a war going on, and I think that ex-players, the current players, are at war. And I think one of probably the biggest issues with our players is the relevancy of these players. When they first retired, late 2000s, mid 2000s, they were relevant players. The problem the problem I think that they've got now is that they're not relevant to a age group. I think what Nicky Butt forgets is people of my age, they know him. They know what sort of player that he was. But if you're early 30s, you're not going to really know who he is. Paul Scholes is, again, to a degree, yes, fantastic player, but the problem that these past players are facing now is that they are irrelevant, and they think that their opinion really, really matters. And I don't think they realise that they're talking to people and kids who never saw them play. They idolise Fernandez, they idolise Xerxes, they idolise Amenu, they idolise these players. These players are their legends. They may not be ours, but they are their legends. So I think the problem is on the ex-players, is that the reason why there is backlash now is because they are not relevant. They're not current. So I think that's what the problem is. How does the derby make me feel? Absolutely fantastic. Let's have a little look. Chip Butty and the incestuous Ginger might have the worst takes of all the ex-players. Players will always get criticism as part of the game. Players need to stop being snowflakes. Ndidi would be good. This place would go to shit without me. This board is a disgrace. People out there signing Guehi, Jaquet, Semenyo, INEOS out, man. We're not serious as a football club. Champagne, mate, legend. Gifted out a membership. Champagne, you're an absolute legend, my friend, and thank you so much for gifting that out. Champagne, mate, you are an absolute legend. I know you're not on here that much these days, my friend, but you are a legend, buddy, and I absolutely thank you, my friend. Absolute legend. Champagne to the all right, Jackie. Joel says the stuff button Scholes said was out of line. You do not go on Martinez because of his height. Scholes is not the tallest. Did anyone go in on his height? And Joel, mate, I'm sort of reluctant to go back in and that a little bit because I have done some shorts on it. I did do a video on it as well. I simply don't agree with it. There is criticism of players, and what they did was bang out of order. And the problem and the main reason why Nicky Butt and Paul Scholes are reluctant to apologise is because they are fucking arrogant, and because they've been sat down. Like people, there is nothing wrong in apologising, right? People say things. I say things on here all of the time. I will apologise for the things that I say. Okay, if there are things that are out of order and I say stuff, I would expect you guys to tell me, right? And I get things wrong, and I will apologise, and I will come out and I will say those things. But we're dealing with two players with egos, and they're of a certain age. And, it's a case of what people think is acceptable. In the grand scheme of things, was it wrong what they said? Well, no. But in the context and the things that they've said and what the output is it wrong? I think it's in the court of public opinion, and I think more people think that it's wrong than it's right. So it's something that they're going to have to deal with. The Flame Meat Rider says, Carrick out. Look, I am not Carrick out. I want the best in class. I don't think Carrick is going to be the best in class, but let's see. Alvin says, bro, it's just commentators. Look, that's your view. That's your view, my friend. Henderson says, two legends talking shot and Paddy McGuinness. It made the player rinse down. Exactly. Paddy McGuinness. I'm sorry. You know, I can to a degree, Nicky Butt and Paul Scholes, look, I get it. They're guys of a certain age. You know, they're going to speak their mind. They've played the game. You know, they've won a treble. You know, they are legends at this club. I'm still not going to give them a pass. But Paddy fucking McGuinness, I mean, likey fucking lighty. I mean, what? I mean, what is he doing? I mean, what is he doing? Absolute clown. Scholes is arrogant. I do agree. United squad have a low IQ and are egotistical and emotional. But Scholes gave an opinion is what podcasters do. I disagree with you, PG. I disagree with you. I disagree with you on the fact that look, they're giving an opinion, right? But that's not an opinion, is it, PG? And look, I'm not disrespecting your view. People have a different opinion and views. No problem at all with that. In my view, I do agree with you. This squad is very emotional. This squad is very egotistical. This squad is up their own arse. But so are Nicky Butt and Paul Scholes. They are up their own arse. Podcasters, yes. I do agree that podcasters do like have an opinion. I've got no issue with that. I have an opinion. They're far bigger than I will ever be. Right? I will never compete. Right? But that is not an opinion. You know, an opinion is I don't think a Martinez is going to do good today because I feel his height will hinder against him. Haaland is such a big, strong guy that I think Haaland is going to win the day. That is an opinion. What they did goes beyond an opinion. That is a disrespectful view. I am all for an opinion, and I do agree with you that these players at times I've complained about these players before. I've complained that they can't handle criticism. But Barton Scholes, it wasn't an opinion. It wasn't an opinion to add a value. It was just taking the piss. I love United, but I was never a fan of Butt. I was glad we sold him. Scholes, on the other hand, was one of my favourite players. Don't like that he has turned into a sour grape. Kieran says, good answer. I agree. It's different time. No club is like what United were. To be fair, there was really only United and Arsenal back then, and now the league is so strong, so many quality teams. Max says, is there a new prime Harry Maguire incoming? No. The Troll Duck says, thank you for beating City. Well, it's my pleasure. PG says, United won't get the best in class coach. The board don't like criticism. Aduda says, there are the players that lead us to our latest success, hence that makes them they're relevant until we reach the level of success. They feel like they're top of the mountain. So look, I wanted to get on to, and again, like comments, fantastic. David Ornstein, look, let's get on to David Ornstein and what he said. Look, David Ornstein, and people listen to an Ornstein as they, he gets things from the club. Fabrizio. Now, this is where at the moment you are going to get, I think, a transfer window. You believe whatever you want to believe, right? Because I think people want to sign players. I get that completely. So I think people, what they do is they hear the truth. They can't handle the truth. People don't like the truth. I'm not calling some of these people out. They are in, they know more than me, right? But there are certain people in this game that Sekran says, Galatasaray fan, please say hello. Hello, hope you're doing extremely well, my friend. I've said hello, and I do hope that you are doing well. But when there are certain people that, he's acting like he's a confidential informant, and when there are people that speak, Romano and Ornstein, when they talk, you listen. And Romano has basically come out and said that United are not planning to do any business in this window. This was today. This is the rhetoric from the club. They are not looking to make any sales. Now, I will give you a slightly different view on that as well. But David Ornstein gets fed things from the club. Fabrizio get things from the club. And if you're going to listen to people, you've got to listen to them. That I will come on and I will report the same as I did about outlets like Neves. There was a bid. I will come and report that. We will talk about that as well, whether we think it's spin or not. We were on the opinion that it's spin. But when people like this talk, you've got to listen. Kieran says, my wife just accused me of being a United fan, Villa through and through. She's struggling with the concept of I like football. Your chat is enjoyable. Women know you can't live with them. I get accused of stuff all of the time. When I do this, I've been accused of like having an affair. I get accused of stuff all of the time. I just take it with a pinch of salt. Out of the 42 ex-players, midfielders currently playing in Europe, 6 are ex-players. The rest are mid-level and injury-prone. Our nickname is Spinchester. I do agree with you. And Scott, I think we're quite aligned. Whenever we do a transfer show, which at the moment is not that often, because I do refuse when I've been told something and I really do trust this person. Hello, says Sheko. Sir Jackie says, you're a handsome bloke. If I was Sir Jackie, I don't know who that's to, mate. But I'm sure whoever you think is a handsome bloke, I'm sure they'll be very, very lucky, to have you slip into their DMs. It is spin. It is spin. The tripod is incoming. It is, this is such a, this is, look, mate, look, what can I say? I'm flattered. I'm flattered, mate. I'm flattered. I have Glenn. I'm just flattered, that men want to slip into my DMs, So, thank you. Probably one of the nicest things anybody has ever said to me. Not even my wife says that now. So Sir Jackie, if you're ever around, mate, no, I'm not. It's just it's just a thing, You guys crack me up. Ornstein. Bloody hell, guys. It's David Ornstein. Look, when David Ornstein talks, I listen. Sir Jackie's just absolutely done me, and I don't mean it like that. He's absolutely just took it. He's just taken over the show completely. I've got no words, mate. You just absolutely, trenched on. I mean, Jesus Christ. Ornstein isn't more handsome than. Look, guys, you've been far too kind. I'm discombobulated now. I'm not. It's not often. It's not often that people, tell me these things. So, it's a surprise that I can't even can't. Oh, Jackie's just absolutely smashed this, and apparently he's going to be smashing me as well. So well, you're going to find out, Sir Jackie. Let's just put it that way. So David Ornstein. David Ornstein has basically said, look, United are not planning to do any of the signings. The only thing that they would be willing to do is they would be only willing to go out off if they can. JB, can you show with the tripod? I can actually. Just hold there a second. It's not the biggest tripod. It is the I do have a massive tripod over there, but this is a hefty tool. So that's the tripod there. Mining looking for a nugget. This is true. It is true. There is 2 JBs on screen. I still wear armband and a rubber ring in the shallow swimming pool. Honestly. Oscar Bob for 35 million. Too bad he's not a left winger. I mean, would you sign Oscar Bob? I know he's surplus to requirements. I mean, I don't know if he's one that I'd sign. But look, in regards after that lovely comments, David Ornstein, look, we are gonna get absolutely bombarded with transfers. Apparently, and I don't know how true this is about. Let me just have a quick little look at something whilst we're talking. I just wanted to have a little look at something whilst we're talking. Let's have a quick look. Nothing at present. So we are going to get spun this stuff, and I was told this. I've been told this for quite some time. I'll let you guys can go through that stuff. I appreciate you respect the humour, mate. Never disrespecting this. Never people would have chuckled me out, but you've got a good bunch of fun. Look, Sir Jackie, mate, absolutely. One thing I do love on here, mate, is the absolute randomness of it. We can go from talking about Ornstein to talking about different things. It's just funny, mate. I think as a community, I do think we've got a good bunch of banter people on here, which is always important. Joel says Bob is a right winger, so he's a no-go. Got too many on the right wing. So what I wanted to say before I go is look, this is going to be spin. Do I think that that United will do something? Now, David Ornstein is saying here we're not planning to do it. Sir Jackie says, what do you call a camel at the top of Mount Everest? I don't know, Jackie. I don't know. What do you call a camel at the top of an Everest, mate? I'm waiting for the punchline. I would have called it dead. I can't believe Barcelona paid 30 for Rashford. They are absolute they're just scammers, mate. They're absolute scammers. So while I wait for Sir Jackie to come back on his joke, me either. That's why I was, for fuck's sake. That's what I mean. Sir Jackie is on fire today. Absolute. He has taken over the show today. He's just done me again. Absolute legend. So I think one of the things to say in this is, look, United are spinning it out there, right? They're spinning that there's no signings, that there are signings. One thing that makes me believe that we will do a signing is this. I think United are putting it out there. They're not going to sign any players. So they can, at the very, very last day, go, ta-da, we've got this really shitty loan deal and we've got a player. So I'm still adamant on this, and I've been adamant on this for 3 months, that United would either do something very, very cheap or nothing at all. And I think that is what United are going to do. So listen to Ornstein. Fabrizio is out there as well talking about this stuff. If we do sign in, I'll be flabbergasted, and I absolutely will give some credit if they go and do something. As Joe says, they did have a meeting on Monday, so there could be something happening. We would just have to wait and see. And Joe, look, there was a meeting. Ornstein's comments have come out after that, though. So, Joe, I think you're right. The question really is, what is the art of possible? If JB wasn't sound, I wouldn't be here. You just added that. You just add value to the channel, Scott. What player do you think it will be? I've been told for quite some time to watch out for people because don't forget, there is a list. I've been told to watch for Loftus-Cheek, Ndidi, Eric Dyer, those sorts of players. Those sorts of players. What's your name, or can I call you the United Devil? Okay, for asking. You can call me JB. It's easier to call me JB. Just call me JB. Easy. Can't believe I'm being this sincere. All those players. Oh no, look, Jackie, my friend, absolute legend, mate. Look, Jackie. I think you're being sincere because at heart, you know that I am the one for you. If it was another life, Jackie, maybe we could have been together, but what does JB stand for? You've got the first name right. You've got the first name right. But the second name, yeah. It's not Jordan Boy. Look, Sir Jackie, mate. When in life, Sir Jackie, if there's an opportunity in life to seize the moment, then you got to do it. Jackie and JB, the best couple on YouTube, better than Ross and Rachel from Friends. I know. It's going to blossom into something special. I don't know how I'm going to tell the kids. I don't know how I'm going to tell the wife. Things happen when you just know, right? So all I'm saying is, Sir Jackie made the first move. I'm flattered, mate. So what can I say? Legendary status. So today I fully expect some other bits and pieces to come out today. If anything does break of any value, exactly, you've got to follow your heart. Exactly. See, Sir Jackie, mate, I love you, pal. Absolute legend. So yeah, I will be back if anything does break, if anything does come out, not in that way. If any news comes out, I will be back on, and I will of course let you guys know. Are you live today? I will probably be back on today about 10 o'clock again tonight. I do try to do one in the day and one of an evening as well. So I plan to be back this evening. I think you both have come out. Well, there is nothing wrong in that. Nothing wrong in today for on that bombshell, on that cliffhanger of a new romance. Actually prefer the channel being small. It's impossible getting Goldbridge to respond, or other channels. You have banter and good opinions. Look, Goldbridge, look, the channel is huge. I get it. There are other creators that could read out your chats. They just choose not to do it. If this channel, exactly. What happens beyond doors stays beyond doors, right? There could come a point where this channel gets very, very big, maybe. But even at that point, I will still find a way to always read out friends, friends, gay friends, friends, secret friends. Let's be secret friends. Don't tell why friends. Shh, friends. Maybe one day I can become a mod if it blows, so you could read my comments. Look, I will. Yeah, I'm not saying that, because if I say that, I'll get banned. But look, I will always find a way to try to read the comments out. Very, very soon, I may change it to subscriber only mode for the comments, just because it just means I can focus on your guys' chat. I'm going to say subscribers is not paid subscribers, even though I will be doing a members only chat as well at some point. That's how aliens sound maybe to me. Friends, friends. Joe, we're going to be doing it about Dino, mate. Look, you've got to bring this tonight. This is a 10 o'clock show. This is an 8 o'clock. If this is what we've got now, the 10 o'clock show tonight is going to be just absolutely ridiculous. So look, guys, I will be back this evening. You guys are legends. Absolute fantastic show this afternoon. Brilliant show. So look, guys, I will be back this evening. Absolute legends of the chat. I've got to go, otherwise I'll never do any work. So look, guys, legends. I will be back this evening. Have a good rest of your morning and afternoon, even wherever you are. I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel. You are a bunch of legends, and I will see you tonight. Take care.